Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. I've had a week. I started the reading week finishing off Pharaohs of the Sun by Guy de la Bedoyere. This is the history of the 18th dynasty, the dynasty that founded the New Kingdom, and one of its last members was Tuchman, which the centennial of the discovery of its tomb has led to a small glut of histories of ancient Egypt. So I read it from the start of February and finished it on Saturday. On the whole, I thought it's adequate. It's okay. When I wrote my review of the book for Open Letters, I was intending it to be an okay, a review. Like, my thesis was going to be that the book was okay, but as I wrote the review and as I thought about it, I got more critical, more negative. De la Bedoyere is not an Egyptologist. His specialty is Roman history, mainly Roman Britain. And so he had educated himself on ancient Egypt to write this book. Whether or not he was interested in ancient Egypt when he was younger. And so that's the first chapter. And while it is interesting, the sort of what's not known about ancient Egypt, what Egyptologists don't exactly know, some of the struggles of learning about ancient Egypt. It's fascinating. There's also a tendency to really sort of go down the rabbit hole of pet theories. Again, there's a whole lot that's not known, and that lack of knowledge encourages the development of theories for which there isn't much proof one way or another. But the theory's proponents fight to the bitter end. And these theories, like when they're kind of looked at, are then backtracked as, well, this is what happened, so does it really matter whose mummy this is, or who Tutankhamun's mother really was? I mean, what's important is that he was Pharaoh, not who exactly she was, since we don't really know. We can never really know unless there's a new find or something. So that got annoying. And of course, the whole chapter on the body in KV 55 is a gross example of this, because it really was unnecessary. He also has a tendency to make assertions and comparisons. There's a whole sort of comparing the 18th dynasty to certain totalitarian dictatorships of the 20th century. The Ceausescu's come to mind, as well as the body of in KV 55 to Richard III's body, which weren't necessary. I was thinking when I saw those comparisons, this isn't St. Mary Mead. We're not in a Miss Marple novel. So that bugged me. Then sometimes he'll, like with those comparisons to totalitarian dictatorships and stuff in a more Marxist-inspired historiography, I thought it was more showing. It was more telling, not showing, that he really never quite shows his case. It's really more just assertions here and there that are sometimes backtracked, and that's a bit annoying. And then he also skimps on certainly culture and the international scene. So the 18th dynasty existed during a time when the ancient Near East and Eastern Mediterranean in this period formed an early international system with a small number of great states, of which Egypt was one of the members, and vassal kingdoms. And this period is very fascinating, and there are quite a number of sources on this, and that was skimmed on. And what kind of annoyed me was the most was Bedoyere refers to Hattusha, the Hittite capital, as a settlement. That just so yeah. So again, as happy as I am that the centennial of the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb has led to a small glut of works on ancient Egypt, so far I have not found one that really works for me. But anyway, I mean, there are interesting bits. It's an okay book. It's just, yeah, it also annoys me. So anyway, now after I finished Pharaohs of the Sun, I started to feel a little down. And I've been feeling, I guess I haven't really been in the best mental space for the last few weeks. And it really hit on Sunday. When unfortunately I was reading, or I started A Distant Mirror by Barbara W. Tuchman. This is a history of the 14th century, primarily focused on France, and primarily through the life of a French nobleman, Enguerrand de Coucy. So I couldn't read. I was not feeling the first two chapters. I took a long lunch break and went and rearranged my art room. Did some painting. That didn't help any. Came back to the book, started the third chapter. Just, again, I wasn't feeling it. I couldn't go on, so I basically scrubbed most of Sunday and was fairly depressed for most of Sunday. I did manage, I think, in a way to come out of it, as I wrote my review of Pharaohs of the Sun, which was pleasant. I mean, I kind of enjoyed writing that review. It was quite cathartic. But even though I think I largely was like a one-day event, and I did sort of put down A Distant Mirror. Where am I going with this? I'm kind of, in a way, the really bad, Sunday, which was why I kind of described it in a few of my videos as a disastrous weekend. It's still there a bit. I'm still feeling a bit down and not happy. But, yeah, so I put down A Distant Mirror. On Monday, I didn't read anything because I had watched the Four Children of the Apocalypse, my two nieces and two nephews, because my new baby niece, although she's 6 months old now, so I don't think she's really all that new, had her 6-month doctor's appointment. So, yeah, me and my mom watched the other four, and couldn't read during that time. And then on Tuesday and part of Wednesday, I started 2 other things, which I'll get to in a bit. But I want to kind of stick with A Distant Mirror, because while I put it down, I came back to it on Wednesday, and it definitely was not the book. And I need to remember that when I do have these mental issues, it's not the book's fault. So I need to just let it rest, maybe for a little bit, and then come back to it. Because I came back to A Distant Mirror on Wednesday and read the 3rd chapter and the 4th chapter, and rather enjoyed it. And then I continued on, and tomorrow, Saturday, I will be starting on chapter 10. So I'm so far quite enjoying it. I do have some quibbles. I don't think A Distant Mirror is as good as advertised. The writing's okay. It's not spectacular. And some of Tuchman's arguments I'm not entirely sure about. Maybe that's what happens when you don't really do the archival research. I don't know, but I mean, on the whole, I'm liking it quite a bit. It's just, I don't think it's as good as it could be, though. But yeah. So I will be continuing this on Saturday, but let's move on to what I build on Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, so on Tuesday, I finally, after I don't know how many years, I think 4 or 5 years of meaning to get to this book, I finally got to The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. This is the first book in the 5 Warrior Angels trilogy. It's about an imperialistic power trying to conquer 5 islands, and a young orphan boy probably destined for something or other. Told at some point Durfee kind of subverts things, but I didn't stick around long enough to find out, because while Durfee does have a wonderful knack for description and descriptive writing, the action scene in the prologue, I mean, the narrative of the prologue left me baffled. There's a body that's missing in the prologue. A dying body, I guess, is kind of missing. And the fight scene, it just didn't work. It was too much of a natural convenience how that fight turned out. And in the first chapter proper, which sees our orphan in his late teens, is basically ticking almost every berserk button I have when it comes to fantasy. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So I bailed. Sorry. And then on Tuesday, I bailed on 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by K.J. Parker. Now, this is apparently about a character, it's a humorous fantasy with a character not unlike, say, Tyrion Lannister, who's basically a kind of a military engineer. And he's acerbic and snooty and kind of, yeah. I've never hated a character more in my life. I hated this character so much. I'm like, I do not want to read any more of your adventures because I'm going to be rooting for the bad guys. So, yeah. I lasted maybe not quite a chapter. It just, no. So at least on the bright side, I did last longer with this. Although given the size, that doesn't matter much. Anyway. So then I kind of went back to Distant Mirror. And so my plans for next week will be, I'll be continuing on with A Distant Mirror, which, I mean, I'm enjoying, although not uncritically. And then once I finish A Distant Mirror, I will start on Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, which is part of my 10 contemporary classics I must spell redeem. Hopefully I'll have better luck with this. It's alternate world, gaslight fantasy. So we'll see how it goes, and if I don't get on with it, I'll find something else, and I'll report back next weekly reads. So yeah, so that's my plan. I'll be continuing on with the library tour, which will probably continue the downer sort of trend that this library tour has been on, which I guess is also part of the problem. I'm not happy. Nothing's really pleasing me, or I'm like in a rut, I guess, or a cycle that's like I'm doing it out of force of habit rather than enjoying it. But like whatever change I'm yearning for, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get to it or enact it. And I don't know really if it would change anything. Because like getting out of the house, going on vacation or whatever might work during the length of that kind of excursion. But when you come back, it's not, nothing's really changed. So I don't know. And I know a lot of it is frustration, creative frustration. Like I mentioned earlier, I did some painting on Sunday, and that really didn't please me. And then I did some painting on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that really didn't quite work as well as I would have hoped either. And creatively, I'm like on the writing side of things. I've got these projects and I don't know what to do with them. There's this one long-running project that I've been working on that I've mentioned intermittently that I don't know if I should try it as a realistic novel, even though it's not exciting me creatively, and I don't have any idea what the plot is. Like, I have scenes, I have characters and theme, but I don't know how to stitch them all together into a plot. And contemporary fantasy is not working. I know that much. And I don't know if maybe doing a more traditional fantasy in a made-up world would work or not. And then I have 3 projects that I would like to do, but I see them as comic books, and I don't know necessarily if it's really the right way to go or not. So it's annoying. But anyway, hopefully I will fix it and figure out what to do, and maybe working on those projects would help. Anyway, back to next week's library tour. So I'll be working on the Boxes of Exile. These are the science fiction and fantasy novels that I'm fairly confident or going to go out of my library whenever I figure out how to start to unhaul. And I would like to do them and the science fiction and fantasy that are not in boxes, along with the manga over 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks to history. And then, of course, I'll be doing some tag videos. I am hoping to do an original tag this coming Monday. And hopefully it'll be a bit of fun. I mean, I'll try it probably tonight to sort of work it out and see how it would work. And yeah, so no booktube. That's all I got for this week. Hopefully this coming weekend and work week will be a lot better. And I'll have a lot more positive weekly reads for you next week. So until next week, booktube, thank you. Have a great evening and weekend and stay safe.